Welcome to a deep dive. Today, we're ditching the crystal ball and looking at clear trend lines. We're talking about the future consumer of 2025. And we've got research from WGSN to guide us. They're, a pretty big deal in forecasting consumer trends.
Yeah, and these aren't just like vague ideas floating around. Companies are using these insights right now to shape their strategies. So whether you're running a business or just, super curious about the world, understanding these future consumers gives you a real advantage.
For sure. And they've given these consumer profiles some, I gotta say, really catchy names. We're talking the new Nihilists, the Reductionists, the Timekeepers, and the Pioneers. Intriguing.
Yeah.
I think so. Let's kick things off with the new Nihilist. Before anyone pictures, teenagers in black, it's a lot deeper than that. What really jumped out at me is it's not really apathy. It's more like they care too much about a world that seems to be, kind of falling apart.
Right. It's not classic nihilism. Like WGSN, they describe it as stepping back from a world that's just overloaded with issues, right? And it's not because they don't care. It's because that constant caring, it's just become too much. You know what I mean? Just imagine. Over 50% of young people are saying that climate change anxieties are negatively impacting them. And then you add economic pressure, social media comparisons. It's a lot.
Yeah, no kidding. Kind of makes you wonder how anyone copes these days. So how does this new nihilist actually behave? Like, how does this translate into their everyday life?
Well, they're focused on creating their own spaces of joy and meaning. And a lot of times it's outside of those like traditional societal norms. Think goblin mode, but with like a philosophical twist. It's not necessarily about rejecting everything outright, but they're definitely choosing where they invest their energy. And it's often in smaller, more personal pursuits rather than, trying to single-handedly save the world.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. But like from a business perspective, if I'm trying to connect with someone who's like actively tuning out the noise, how do I even get on their radar?
That's the million-dollar question, right? WGSN suggests that brands really lean into honesty and authenticity, like enough with the marketing BS, just genuine connection. It's about offering a break from that constant pressure to engage with the doom and gloom, and instead provide moments of joy, humor, escapism, those kinds of things.
So it's not about ignoring the problems. It's about offering a way to like recharge so you can actually face them. Man, that resonates even with me, and I wouldn't exactly call myself the new nihilist. But okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the reductionists. These are the folks who are really craving real connection in a world that feels increasingly digital.
Yeah, and I think this is a direct response to all that isolation we felt during the pandemic. I mean, we were hyper-connected online, but starved for real human interaction. In fact, WGSN found that 64% of people said they'd been buying more locally since the pandemic began as a way to, support their communities.
So it's like they're shrinking their world down to a more manageable, meaningful scale, right?
Yeah.
Focusing on their local community, tangible experiences, instead of just online interactions. What are some real-world examples of how this is playing out?
Well, think about platforms like Airbnb. They give back to local communities. Or Delivery Co-op. They prioritize fair wages for their drivers over, corporate profits. And these aren't just niche movements anymore. They're gaining some serious traction because they appeal to this desire for ethical, community-focused consumption.
Okay, so we've got these new nihilists finding their like little pockets of joy, and then the reductionists grounding themselves in their local communities. It really makes you think, like, what about those who want to reclaim something I think we're all feeling starved for these days' time? And that's where the timekeepers come in.
And, this isn't about being obsessed with schedules or anything. What WGSN highlights about them is that they're pushing back against that whole always-on mentality. It's about craving, slow living, more meaningful connections. They're even bringing back, like, intergenerational friendships as a big part of their whole ethos.
Wow. See, now that is fascinating to me. It's like they're rejecting this whole idea that we have to be constantly productive, constantly connected. But how does that actually play out in their consumer behavior? Are we talking about people who are like living totally off the grid?
Not necessarily, not at all. They're just really, really picky about how they use technology. Think of it almost as like hacking the system, right? Making it work for their desire to have quality experiences. Like a great example is this service, not a hotel, it's in Japan. They offer, get this, subscription-based access to luxury homes.
Okay, hold on. I need to hear more about this.
Right, so it's all about flexibility, unique experiences, but no long-term commitment. It's the opposite of always being on,
I totally see the appeal. It's like they've figured out that life's not supposed to be a highlight reel for social media.
Yeah.
It's about like actually savoring the moments that truly matter. And if I'm remembering correctly, WGSN's last group, the Pioneers, they're kind of all about building a future where those moments are even better. Am I on the right track?
You got it. They're the ones who are like making the metaverse actually matter, but not in a way that disconnects us even further. Think using digital twins to build smarter cities, championing inclusivity in online spaces. They're all about navigating both the physical and digital worlds seamlessly.
So they're not shying away from technology. They're like shaping it to actually align with their values. What are some real-world examples of how they're doing that?
A really powerful example is this trend of cleanup raves that started in Ukraine. They combine like music and community with environmental and social good. They literally clean up war-torn areas while having a good time. It really speaks to their whole entrepreneurial spirit, merging real-world impact with innovation.
Man, it's inspiring to see how these groups are, actually taking action, each in their own way.
Yeah.
But it also makes you realize businesses need a whole new playbook to keep up with these evolving consumer values. How do you even market to someone who's actively trying to unplug or prioritize ethical consumption over everything else?
And that's where these 4 strategies from WGSN come in, right? It's less about changing tactics and more about a fundamental shift in how businesses operate. And it all starts with really understanding the anxieties and aspirations of these future consumers, the new nihilists, the reductionists, the timekeepers, and of course, the pioneers.
So we've explored these fascinating consumer groups, each navigating the future in their own way. But for anyone listening who, runs a business or works in marketing, the big question is, how do we adapt? It feels like the old playbooks are going obsolete faster than ever.
Yeah, and that's what makes these 4 strategies from WGSN so interesting. They're not just marketing tactics, it's almost like a philosophical shift businesses need to consider. The first one, it sounds deceptively simple. Take the pressure off.
I was just thinking that it sounds simple, but think about it. We're constantly bombarded with these messages about saving the world, being productive every second of the day, achieving peak wellness. When you put it like that, taking the pressure off actually feels kind of radical.
Exactly. Remember the new nihilists. They're exhausted by that constant pressure to engage. So for them, brands that offer a bit of lightness, some humor, maybe a little escapism, those are the ones that'll stand out. Again, it's not about ignoring the world's problems. It's about creating a space for people to, just breathe.
So it's less about selling a product and more about offering a feeling.
Yeah.
A moment of life in a world that can feel very intense.
You got it. And this ties into that second strategy, build connections in communities. For groups like the Reductionists, it's not enough to just offer a great product anymore. They want to support businesses that genuinely align with their values.
Right. It's that whole voting with your wallet idea, but it's deeper than just a transaction. They want to be part of something that feels authentic, ethical, connected to something bigger than themselves.
And that something bigger doesn't have to be, global or anything. It could be as simple as supporting their local businesses, artisans, creators, those kinds of things. It's about fostering that genuine engagement, that sense of community, and doing it both online and offline.
Which leads us perfectly into that third strategy, offer quality over quantity. This one feels especially relevant for the timekeepers, who are all about savoring those experiences and investing in things that last.
For sure. They're rejecting that whole disposable culture. They want products and services that actually enhance their lives in a meaningful way. So for businesses, this means focusing on things like craftsmanship, durability, timeless design. Basically things that won't just end up in a landfill next year.
So less about chasing trends, more about creating things that can stand the test of time. That's got to be a big shift for companies that are so used to, operating at the speed of light.
It is a huge shift, but I really think the businesses that can embrace this, they're going to be the ones that thrive in the long run. And then last but not least, we have our 4th strategy, and this one feels very 2025, help people switch modes.
This is the one that really sticks out to me is the lines between our physical and digital worlds keep blurring. For businesses listening, what does it actually look like to embrace mode switching?
Okay, so think about the pioneers, right? They're completely comfortable in both worlds, but they're also all about flexibility and personalization. So the businesses that can offer these seamless transitions between their online and offline experiences, maybe some personalized recommendations, maybe even digital detox support, those are the ones that all resonate with this group.
It's about recognizing that, people exist in these multiple modes throughout the day and offering them solutions that actually enhance their lives no matter what mode they're in.
Exactly. It's a more holistic approach to business, one that really takes into account the complexity of, the modern consumer.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive. I mean, we've gone from nihilism to digital twins, from cleanup raves to, like, the importance of slowing down. It seems like the future of business isn't so much about predicting the next big thing, but about really understanding the humans who are going to be shaping it.
And I think those humans, they're sending us a very clear message. They want connection, they want authenticity, they want a sense of purpose. The businesses that can tap into that, those are the ones that are going to really thrive in the years to come.
It's a future I'm excited to be a part of. And hopefully, by understanding these trends, we can all make choices that lead to a more fulfilling and sustainable future for everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. And remember, the future is closer than you think.